Today I want to talk about caring consistently for your ball pythons. I want to tell you about 5 areas that I bet you can improve how you consistently care for your ball python, and that will lead to a better life and better results in your ball python experience. Stick around. What's up, everybody? It's Adam at Proper Royals. I am the honest mechanic of the ball python world. Thanks for joining me today. I got my girl Juno here hanging out as well. She is a visual lavender albino. She's also 66% het pied. So in another year or so, I've got a male that is het lavender, het pied, that I will put together with her and get started on a dreamsicle project. So today is about getting consistent results and caring consistently for your ball pythons. I have found in my experience, the more things that I can keep consistent, especially once I find that they work, the better results I get. And I judge my results by the well-being of my snakes. When I see things like perfect sheds every time, I don't have to worry about my sheds anymore because I do things consistently to make sure that they're great. When I don't see the snakes pacing the tubs and the enclosures, it means that they're comfortable. It means that they're not stressed out or freaked out. When they eat regularly. Now, yeah, they always go on, oftentimes they'll go on hunger strikes and that sort of thing, but I'm starting to see it more seasonally and tied into the breeding season rather than maybe they eat, maybe they don't. 15 out of my 16 snakes, I feed frozen thawed every time. Half of them I feed weekly, half of them I feed every 2 weeks, and they eat. I don't waste rats. I don't worry or lose sleep about their eating habits. So let's jump right into the list of 5 areas that I bet you could improve on, or you can increase your consistency levels and improve the results that you get for the well-being of your animals. So the first thing, and this really shouldn't even be a tip or a hint, if you own ball pythons, you have got to be using thermostats. That's really not even a tip or a hint. That's a mandatory thing. But I included that, and it's number 1 because it's so important, but I included it because thermostats are the definition of consistency and what we try and achieve with them. You want consistent temperatures. If you don't have a thermostat and you're just running a heat match straight, you're going to burn your snake. If you don't have a thermostat, do me a favor right now and Google ball python burns. That's what you're going to do to your animals. If you unplug your mat, your animal is not warm enough and it's suffering. Get a thermostat. There's many options out there on the market, from a very nice Vivarium Electronics. This is a VE100. Actually, this isn't even a very nice one. This is a solid one and has all the protections that you need. But something like a VE100, now this will cost you $125, but there are other options on the market. I use these inexpensive Amazon ones on where I just need an on-off thermostat. I use those. Now they don't have all the safety mechanisms in them, so that if they fail, like the Vivarium Electronics ones, if they fail, they will fail in the off position so they don't cook your animals. Between cooking and them getting a little bit cold, of course cold is better. But you've got to use thermostats. That is non-negotiable. Okay? That is one way to make sure that you're bringing consistency to all your heat panels on your racks, whether you keep them in racks, tubs, tanks. You've got to use thermostats. Make sure that you are. Okay. My second area is feeding. Everybody has gone through the troubles of feeding challenges, but I can tell you what really made a huge difference for me was getting incredibly consistent with it. But I feed at the same time, on the same night, every week. Now, I don't think that my snakes know what a Thursday versus a Wednesday is, but I do believe they've started to learn what 6 days versus 5 or 7 days is. I feed weekly these same snakes each week, and then my snakes that are on a 2-week rotation, it's still the same night, but they do that every 2 weeks. And not only do I do it on the same night, I do it the same way. I bring my rats up to room temperature in the same way, then I heat my rats in the same way, and then I feed them in the same way. They even know which side of these tubs I'm gonna feed them from. I feed them from this side. When I pull them out to feed them, the snakes are poised right here at this end for me to feed them. Getting that rhythm and fulfilling that expectation and that feed mode that they're in not only reinforces that behavior to them, it tells them that they're going to get rewarded when they go into feed mode. So it becomes less of an opportunistic feeding versus a conditioned feeding. I could tell you I get very, very good results from it. So be consistent not only when you feed them, but how you feed them. I also believe that cleaning is number 3, clean consistently. Not only clean often, but clean at a consistent time or in a consistent manner. Snakes are nocturnal animals. When they're basically sleeping or relaxing like they would normally be in the daytime, is a great time for me to clean them. So I take them out of one tub, I put them in a holding tub, then I clean and sanitize their tubs. I do that once a week, but I also do it if they've soiled their tub. I don't spot clean, I just go ahead and take it out and clean. I don't use a whole lot of cocoa, so it's really just using newspaper and making sure that their water is fresh and clean. I clean in the mornings before I go to work. I feed at night, clean in the mornings before I go to work. All right, number 4 on my list. This might be difficult for some of you all to do, especially if you're more of a pet owner than a breeder, but I recommend just the same way that you keep your tubs and your tank and your hot spots at a certain temperature, I keep my room at a certain temperature. So my snake room, I keep at a constant 80 degrees, and I'm gonna show you how right here. What I use is one of these oil and tank heaters, and I use that on a thermostat. So that's set to actually one of the inexpensive Amazon on-off thermostats that I was speaking of earlier. So I use my oil heater. The other thing that I do is I run one of these Honeywell fans. The only time that I'm not running that Honeywell fan is when I'm recording a video and I don't want the background. So if I'm recording or streaming, I turn it off. But otherwise, I use that fan so that this area of the room isn't any hotter than this area over here, so that all the snakes are getting consistent temperatures. You might not be able to heat your room or temperature regulate your room, but I do recommend a fan or a ceiling fan so that it's at least consistent. Last but not least, lighting. These are animals that, as we are, they have circadian rhythms. We rely on a daytime and a nighttime. People go crazy. We've all seen the prison videos and the hospital horror flicks where there's not day and night and somebody goes crazy. We need to know when it's day and night, and we need to build those rhythms. My room here has no windows in it. I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but if you do have that, keep your lights on wall timers. I have a wall timer, very cheap, that I plug in a lamp, so it always stays sort of dim. The lamp has a shade on it, so it's never just striking light. There is 8 hours a day where that lamp comes on. It's an LED bulb that's all of what I think 3 or 4 watts these days. It's not like 20 years ago when you needed a 100-watt regular bulb. So there's an LED bulb in there. It's very inexpensive, doesn't produce much heat, and that is on a wall timer that each day there's 8 hours of light for these animals to have the experience of some day and nighttime. If you have natural light in your room, that's great. Then you don't need to worry about it. What's more consistent than the sun, you know? Even if you have the dark tubs, and even if you're imagining a snake living underground in a burrow where there wouldn't ever be any light, the snake is at least able to see that there is light out there. You see what I mean? So even those dark tubs, they see the lights through the outside of it. Even here, I use a cover over the front of my racks generally when I'm not on camera. It provides that dimness as well, but at least they get the light through there to know or to have a feeling of when it's daytime and nighttime. I think if you practice these things consistently, you are going to see a consistently healthier snake, a healthier animal, and you're going to get more fulfillment because you're going to know that your animals are happy and healthy. And ultimately, that's what this whole thing's about, is about the animals, right? I hope you enjoyed today. Check out these videos to keep up with everything that we have going on at Proper Royals. And you can always check out my monthly episode of the coolest ball python in the world. Until next time, from me and Juno, see ya!